Okay, over to Lilambika, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. So, very good afternoon to everyone present here. I'm Lilambika, the ATL in charge of Air Force School Hebal. I welcome you all to the session, students. And I think we have a very good mix of students here, not only from different grades, but also from different schools across different states. Okay. So, children, your presence in this session itself, and also on the WhatsApp group through the umpteen conversations that you all have in the group itself shows that you all are so excited to get onto this journey of innovation. And you all are setting really good example of peer learning by helping each other answering in the questions and responding, asking questions, and so on. So continue to do it. And coming to the program, the very purpose of these training sessions is to empower you with the core skills in the problem solving and also to deal with all the aspects that are related to it so that you can come out with an innovative solution to solve the pressing problems that are there around us, which either an individual or a community is facing, right? So I think we all are very clear on these lines. Now, to lead you to this through this journey, we have Kiran sir, who is associated with our school, Air Force School Hebal, as a mentor of change, and he's also the regional mentor of change associated with Niti Aayog. And we also have Fanindra sir, who is the ATL in charge of Nagarjuna Model School from Kadapa, who is looking into the live stream and the daily sessions that we are going to have on YouTube and Zoom. Thank you, sir, for all your support. And with this, now we launch the Tackling ATL Marathon session officially. And Kiran, sir, now I hand over the session to you to take it further from here. And I'm sure blessed will be these children to learn under your guidance. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. It's really amazing. We have had so many sessions in the last many months, especially after the pandemic struck. We have completely gone online with our ATL engagements, and we have been running a lot of sessions. And thanks to Air Force School Hebal and specifically to Lilambika ma'am for all her support, and to the school management for all the support from the school as well in running these programs. And thank you, Fanindra sir, and the management of Nagarjuna Model School, Kadapa, in Andhra Pradesh. Both the schools have been very supportive in running all these mentoring sessions that I have been conducting. So it's been an amazing journey. And so welcome to all the students and any teachers who are present here. This is an amazing journey we are starting today. This program is going to run for a week. So the whole objective of this program is to help you or equip you with key skills that are required for problem solving and innovation. That's the main agenda of this program. And it so happens that the ATL Marathon, which is a national level competition from ATL Innovation Mission, part of the Government of India organization, um, is currently running. And then part of the objective of this program is also to help students or guide and mentor students to take their innovations forward and provide them mentoring support for the ATL Marathon program itself. So, and I hope all of you have got access to the online e-learning resources portal today morning. In case any of you still don't have it, I will work with you. Please share me your name and email address on the WhatsApp group after this session, and I will make sure that you get access. Okay, and so we have had a significant number of registrations, and I see a good number of people on this call today. Since the session is short, we'll get started. Let me tell you a brief about how we conduct these programs. So this is basically a hybrid program in which there is an online mentoring session, and then there is an online plus offline kind of learning that goes into it. You are given access to an online learning portal, through which you learn things at your own pace, at your own convenience, at your own time and comfort, sitting at home or anywhere else you are. That's the offline component of it. So primarily what we are trying to do is we are trying to make you self-learners in the process of running many of these kind of programs. In the sense that we make the learning content available, but you're going to learn pretty much things on your own. And the learning content is designed in such a way that you just go through it and you should be able to easily understand the content, and you should be able to follow it, and you should be able to complete the activities or assignments and challenges that are also provided along with it. So you run pretty much on your own at your own comfort. And a topic like problem solving or innovation is definitely not something that can be mastered in a week's time. This program is just a start for you to get your hands dirty and get to know what is involved in this. Because when we say innovation, most of the students I've seen, many, at least many of them, they start with an idea and then they go about coming up with a prototype. But innovation and problem solving has a lot more to it. That is what we are going to discover during this 1 week training program. So we guide you through the process, step-by-step process, and there's a lot of rigor. There is a lot of methodical way of doing things. And unless you go through those steps, it's very difficult to compete in a national level program like the ATL Marathon or any other innovation related competition or programs. So if you want to be, if you want to submit a winning entry, you definitely need to do a lot more than just submitting an idea or submitting a prototype. Okay, so but that doesn't mean that only students who are participating in the ATL Marathon need to participate in this program. As I said earlier, this is a mentoring program which is designed to guide you or mentor you on problem solving and innovation. So even if you're not participating in ATL Marathon, you can still attend this program. You will learn basic things like what is a problem and how do I solve it, what are the processes or steps involved in taking a problem and coming out with an innovative solution. So you learn a lot of things. You learn about critical thinking, problem solving, creative thinking. You might even get some exposure to entrepreneurship in the process. A lot of skills are involved in this. So many of these are 21st century skills as well, which are in much demand today. And it's very essential that you acquire all the skills in the process. So irrespective of whether you're participating in ATL Marathon or not, you can still participate in this training program. Okay. So having said that, let's get started. And what I will do is, in these mentoring sessions, what I'm going to do is give you a gist of the information. I've already shared the online portal. You have a lot of content there. I expect you to go through the content and read it by yourself and understand much of the things. But in the mentoring sessions, the time is limited. So I'm going to give you a summary version of what is there. And I'll also take up your questions and answer them. Okay, so let me share my screen and bring up the portal itself. We'll go through step by step and see what is expected out of you in the next few days. Okay. So are you able to see the screen now? Fanindra sir, can you give me a confirmation?
Yes, sir, we are able to see, sir.
Okay, fantastic. So this is the Tackling ATL Marathon 2021. This is the training program, and this is the web portal that many of you have access to, I believe, already. And I hope that many of you have got a chance to look through it and see what content is available. Some of you have asked me, what should I do with the portal? So just go through the content. And in these mentoring sessions, I'm going to clarify some of your doubts. I'm not going to explain everything here because part of the responsibility is with you. You need to go through the content and you need to come prepared for these mentoring sessions with your questions. And as a mentor, I'm going to guide you through it. But I'll not be able to explain everything. Okay, but I'll do my best in the limited time available. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so we have a 7-day program. Day one, we are going to talk everything about what is this ATL Marathon. Even if you are not participating in this marathon, it's perfectly fine. You can still listen in and get to know what's happening. In case you would, if you get inspired to participate, please do after listening to this session. Okay, this is today's session, 19th of January. Okay, and thus tomorrow, that is 20th of January, we are going to learn something called as design thinking. I am sure many of you, especially those students who have an ATL in their school, are probably familiar with what is design thinking. It's basically a process for creative problem solving and innovation. So we are going to talk about this because this is the foundation upon which everything is going to be built in the next 7 days. Okay. And in any problem solving or innovation, the first step is to observe things. So we cover this in day 3. We observe and analyze and identify certain problems or challenges that people are facing. And then we go, and in day 4, we're going to go a little further. We're going to do a bit of research. We're going to do some primary research and secondary research, and we are going to empathize with the problems or the challenges and the people affected by those challenges. That's what we are going to do. And in day 5, we are going to come up with a clear point of view on what is the problem that we want to address, or what is the problem that we want to solve. Until this time, we have not even thought about the solution. Okay, most of the time, I see students directly jumping into a solution. They start thinking in terms of prototype. But till day 6, we are not actually even going to talk about the solution or the prototype, because the problem or the challenge needs to be very clear. Unless that is clear, there's no point in coming up with a solution or a prototype. So in day 6, we are actually going to go and do some ideation. Ideation involves looking at various ways of solving the problem. Normally, what we do is the first idea that comes to mind, we think that's the best idea, and we think we should build a prototype. That's not necessarily true, because unless you go and explore multiple ways, you will not know which is better, which is cheaper, which is more effective, and things like that. So in day 6, that's what we are going to do. We are going to look at multiple solution alternatives. Then we are going to narrow down to a few of the solution alternatives. Finally, we will pick one for prototyping and testing. That is what we are going to cover in day 7. In day 7, you're going to learn about how do you do prototype design, how do you build your prototype, how do you test your prototype, and how do you gather feedback from the users and things like that. So unless you go through all of these, you will not know how you need to go through a problem solving approach, or how do you come up with an innovation. And this is what is expected in ATL Marathon also. Okay, so given this brief highlights of the program schedule, let me now go to the click on this menu on the top here. You'll see the day menu, and every day you will have new menus coming up. Tomorrow you will see a day 2 menu, and day after tomorrow you'll see a day 3 menu. So you need to click on the day specific menu to understand and learn new things specific to those days. So day 1 is today, which is basically all about ATL Marathon. Now I'm going to talk very briefly about what this marathon is all about. It's basically ATL Marathon. First of all, what is ATL? Some of the students are having an ATL in their school, but some of them don't have. So let me explain what is an ATL. ATL stands for Atal Tinkering Labs. There are close to 10,000 Atal Tinkering Labs across the country. These are basically tinkering and innovation laboratories in schools. Many of you have science labs in your schools. Similarly, there are tinkering labs. These are STEM focused, or science, technology, engineering, and math. That's what STEM stands for. STEM focused technology labs, you can say, where you have a lot of very interesting stuff like electronic devices, electronic components, sensors, microprocessors, robots, drone kits, artificial intelligence, telescopes, a lot of very interesting stuff. 3D printers and things like that are made available in those labs. And students from class 6 to class 12 get an opportunity to go to those labs and build interesting projects. These are much more than simple science projects that you probably schools. These are really technology. Improve your problem solving skills. It gives you an opportunity to innovate and even become an entrepreneur. That's what ATL Tinkering Labs are all about. And ATL Tinkering Lab is basically one of the initiatives of ATL Innovation Mission, which is an organization under the government of India. It comes under Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog is one of the policy making organizations under the government of India, and they have this unit called ATL Innovation Mission, and ATL Tinkering Labs is one of their initiatives. Okay. And what is ATL Marathon? ATL Marathon is basically an innovation challenge or an innovation competition that ATL Innovation Mission runs every year for school students, primarily in class 6 to 12th. And the whole idea is they encourage school students to identify community problems in their neighborhood, problems in their own homes, or in their communities, or in their, let's say, apartments, or in their neighborhoods, or in their schools, in their towns or cities or villages, wherever you are located. You can look around and identify certain opportunities or challenges or problems that people are facing, and can you come up with an innovative solution? So this challenge encourages you to submit your innovative entries. So it's not just an idea, but you need to go through the entire process of innovation and finally submit a prototype which demonstrates your innovation. Okay, and that's what we have, this ATL Marathon 2021 is all about. It's called 2021 because it was launched in November 2021. Although we are now in 2022, the marathon started in November 2021, and it's going to run up to March 2022. The last date for submitting your innovative entries to this marathon is 6th of March. Okay, and what they have done in this marathon is they have identified 8 problem statements, or let's say we something called as 4 focus areas. Within those 4 focus areas, there are 8 problem statements, and students are encouraged to come up with an innovation in any of these 8 problem statements, under these problem statements. So you can pick one of those problem statements and you can come up with an innovation, which you observe in your own community. But I'll come to that. I'll come to what those problem statements are and focus areas are. Before that, I wanted to address a few of the questions that students generally have. So I kept it at the top. Okay, let me first answer some of the basic questions. Many of the students are already familiar with the ATL Marathon, but who is eligible for it? Basically, only Indian students. Foreign students are not allowed to participate in this. It's only open for Indian students. Okay, and class 6 to 12 students are eligible to participate in this program. And students who have an ATL and students who don't have an ATL, both can participate in this program. It's not necessarily only for students who have an ATL in their school. Okay, I know that some of the school students in this who have joined our training program don't have an ATL. Okay, but never mind. What you can do is you can team up with students from schools that have an ATL. The only constraint is you cannot participate in this competition as an individual. You only can participate in a team. The team size can be either minimum of 2 people or maximum of 3 people. You cannot have more than 3 people. Your entry will be disqualified if you have more than 3 people. Okay, that's something you need to keep in mind. Minimum 2 or maximum 3. 1 is not allowed, or more than 3 is also not allowed. Okay, and as I said, non-ATL students, that is students who don't have an ATL in their school, they need to team up with somebody, with another student, 1 or 2 students, okay, who have an ATL in their school. For example, A4 school Hebal has an ATL. So if you are from another school which doesn't have an ATL, you can definitely team up with one of the students in A4 school Hebal. Or Nagarjuna Model School in Kadapa, they also have an ATL. So you can team up with students from that school. Similarly, I know there are students from many other schools who are participating and they also have an ATL. So students who don't have an ATL but they're interested in participating, I encourage you to put your name and your class and your interests and the kind of projects that you want to do. And in the WhatsApp group that we have for this training program, please let yourself be known and ask for anybody who is interested from an ATL school to team up with you. If somebody is interested, they can definitely let you know. Okay, so that is how you can do it. So unless you find somebody from an ATL school, you will not be able to participate. But to participate in this training program, there's no such requirement. You can still participate. You can participate individually or teams. It doesn't matter. It's basically just a training program. It gives you basic skills and knowledge in how to go through the process of problem solving and innovation. For this training program, there are no constraints. But to participate in ATL Marathon, you need to team up. Okay, so that's what I would say. And submission, how do you go about submission? As I said, the ATL Marathon has 4 focus areas and 8 problem statements under it. And you can pick any of those, one problem statement at the most. I would encourage you to pick one problem statement and go deep into it. Or you can also come up with your own problem statement, which may not be aligned with those 4 focus areas, or it may not be aligned with those 8 problem statements also. If you think you have something really good, worthwhile, but it doesn't fit into any of these problem statements, you can still participate and submit your entry. Okay, that is very much allowed. And what you need to submit, you need to submit something called as a research document and a video file. It's called a research document because ATL Innovation Mission is encouraging more and more students to develop research mindset. That means thinking through things and then analyzing, observing. So there's a lot of skills involved in researching. Okay, so you need to develop that skills. It's not jumping into action and building a prototype. That is only, I would say, 20% of the job of in an ATL marathon. The remaining 80% will be more about thinking through things. There's a lot of thinking activity that is involved in these kind of programs. If you think that you can just submit an idea or prototype based on that idea, it's not going to fly in this marathon. This marathon is more about thinking and researching and identifying the problem, understanding the problem. That is where you would put 70% of your effort in just understanding the problem. And the remaining 20 to 30% you need to spend in ideating and coming up with a prototype. So the last 20-30%. Okay, so that is something very clearly we need to understand. And the last day to submit is 6th of March. Okay, I don't think it will be extended this time. Unlike last, it may not be extended this time. So make sure that you start working on it right away. And you can submit entries for more than one problem statement. If you think that you can work on multiple problem statements, you are welcome to do it. But I would encourage you not to submit more than one entry, because it's not about quantity, it's about quality. If you spend the next 4 to 6 weeks of time that is still available to you on one good problem and come up with a good solution, that has a greater chances of selecting in the top 100 or top 300. But if you think that you can submit multiple entries, you will not be able to do justice to any of them. You will probably submit multiple entries, but none of them will have depth. So submit one good entry. But submitting the same solution to multiple problems or multiple problem statements is not allowed. That means you cannot take the same idea, same solution and say, I'm going to solve the healthcare problem also, I'm going to solve some transportation problem also. No, you are supposed to identify different problems and come up with different solutions. And where to submit? If you click this link here, there is a click here. If you click this, it will take you to the ATL Marathon website. So I just click it and you actually go to a website where you can actually log in. You need to register here. You can put your mobile number and get a OTP, or you can put your email and password, and then you can register. Or you can also register with your Google account or a Facebook account if you have one. Okay, so you can use any of these accounts to log into the ATL Marathon website and you can submit your entry. You don't have to register upfront. While you are submitting your entry, you can register with this email and password and submit as well. So there is no two-step process. Okay. And for more details about the marathon, you can click this link here. Okay, if you click this link, you will be redirected to a website which is all about ATL Marathon. And everything I talked about is also here. So everything I talked about the ATL Marathon, you will find all the instructions that are given here. So please go through it. there are themes like education, transport, energy and transport, health and nutrition, and social inclusion. These are the 4 focus areas for this year's marathon. And participation guidelines, there are more detailed guidelines than what I have given you. Please go through every single guideline. Okay, I would suggest you copy paste it and keep it in your own computer so that you don't lose it or forget it. Go through all of these, and if you see clearly, it says 6th of March is the due date for ATL Marathon 2022-21. So go through all these instructions. It even tells you what the document, research document should contain. Okay, so I'm not going to go through every single line here. I would encourage you to read it, and if you have any specific questions, you can ask. Okay, towards the end, the last 10-15 minutes, I'll take all the questions. Okay, and what is the, you also need to submit a video along with your research document. So it even tells you what should go into the video. And ultimately, you need to upload your video to YouTube or your Google Drive and share the link when you submit it on the application form. So if you want to submit, you need to click Submit Ideas here. And when you click on Submit Ideas here, you go back to the previous page and you log in. And then when you log in, you will get an application form. You need to fill in all your name, your phone number, your email address, your ATL ID, and your ATL in charge name, your mentor's name, your innovation details, all of that. And finally, you need to upload your research document, the video, and finally submit it. When you successfully submit it, you will also get a unique number. If you don't get that number, I encourage you to submit it again, because sometimes I've seen students having difficulty in submission. And don't keep your submission till the last week or the after 1st of March. You need to submit on or before 1st of March, because what happens is in the last week or the final week, thousands of students across the country will be trying to submit, and then this website may go down, or it may become slow, or sometimes it will not work. We have had a lot of challenges in the past, so don't try to rush and submit at the last moment. Okay, that's a key guideline. And the other thing is, you can watch this video. This is a YouTube video that I have already embedded here. This gives you a big picture of what is this ATL Marathon, what is this competition, what are those focus areas, what are those problem statements. All of these has been detailed by the ATL Innovation Mission team themselves. So please do watch it. It is about close to 40 minutes. It's a very interesting video. You should definitely watch it before you proceed further. And there are 2 coffee table handbooks on ATL Marathon 2018 and 2019. So you can go through these books. It has lots of examples of the top 30 or top 50 entries submitted by students in the previous editions of ATL Marathon. Okay, there are a lot of pictures as well. So if you quickly skim through this, some of these, you will find lots of, for example, water resources. So there is Rainbow International School in Himachal Pradesh. They have submitted some entry, their photos are available. So similarly, in future, even your photos will come if your submission gets selected in the top 100 or top 300. Okay, so there are lots of these coffee table handbooks of various innovations from across the country, from different students. You can see them, see what other students have done, and you can get inspired as well. Similarly, this is the book from 2019, I guess, and this also has lots of examples from student innovations. Okay, so you can see the photos, somebody has built a robot or something, somebody has built some other innovation. So you can get inspired by looking at all of these. Okay, now coming to the focus areas itself. The ATL Marathon this time, they have selected 4 focus areas. One is healthcare and nutrition. The second is about education. Third is about energy and transportation. And the fourth is about social inclusion. These are 4 focus areas in which you are encouraged to submit your innovative entries, because they feel, ATL Innovation Mission feels, or Niti Aayog feels, that these are key focus areas for the country. These are key challenges or problems that are facing our country today, because there are a lot of problems in these areas. Lot of problems you can yourself see in the field of education, for example, and healthcare, especially after the pandemic has struck. A lot of healthcare challenges are there. Similarly, there are challenges with energy. We are consuming a lot of energy. We are burning a lot of fossil fuels, and it's leading to climate change, and climate change is leading to flooding and many other challenges. I'll come to that. But you don't have to be restricted to only those 4 areas. If you have some good idea, a good okay. So till here, are there any questions? Panindra sir or Lilambika ma'am, would you like to pick any
Yes,
question
sir.
that
Alia Gupta has raised her hand, sir.
Okay, if students can put their questions in the chat window, Fanindra sir can just pick up 1 or 2 questions right now, and I'll take more questions towards the end. Okay.
Yes, sir. They do have questions like, can we register now? And do we have to make the prototype?
Okay, so registering it's not like you need to register now and you need to submit later. You can register as well as submit in one go. Registration is nothing but creating your account on the website that I showed earlier, where you can put your mobile number and get an OTP, or you can fill in your email address and password, or you can use your Google account to register. So those are just creating an account on that website. That's all registration is all about. But most importantly, it's all about submitting your entry to the marathon. That can be done on or before 6th of March 2022. So you don't have to register now necessarily, but you can still go and create your account now. If you create your account, you can actually see the application form. You'll know what is expected. So I do encourage you to register now, so that you get a sense of what is the expectation, what is expected, and then you prepare yourself in the next few weeks, and then finally by 1st of March at least you should submit it, if not 6th. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, it is from Gupta, Alia Gupta. Is it possible to make online things like website, chatbot, etc.? What they will be expected in the marathon?
Yes, see, that's the prototyping part. Okay. So again, I would answer this in 2 parts. First, I would say, yes, you can submit online or virtual prototypes as well as physical prototypes for this marathon. Okay, since there is pandemic and ATLs are closed and students don't have access to physical tinkering or innovating or prototyping resource materials, ATL Innovation Mission has clearly said, if you watched that video earlier I showed you, they clearly say that you can submit virtual prototypes or online prototypes. You can build a mobile app, you can build a chatbot, you can maybe create an animation, you can create a game, you can create a website. All of these are possible. But the more important thing is not to go about building a chatbot. First, you need to think of a problem that needs to be addressed. The problem, whether you build a chatbot or a website or create a game or an animation, is the solutioning part. For an innovation, it's not about starting what prototype to build. It's about what problem to solve. If you make a mistake, again, you will not get selected. I'll tell you, if you think that you will just go and build a chatbot, your idea may not get selected, because unless the chatbot addresses a real world problem, it really addresses some need in those focus areas, healthcare or nutrition, education, transport and industry, transportation or energy and social inclusion, the chatbot has no value. So it's always, you should start with the problem statement and what is suitable to solve that problem. Then you decide whether you should build a chatbot or whether you should build an animation, whether you should build a physical prototype and things like that. That decision should come later, not right away. Don't start with, okay, I'm going to build a robot, I'm going to build a chatbot. No, that mindset has to change. See, what we are trying to do through this marathon is to change that mindset. It's not about prototype that is so important. It's your chatbot that is so important. But what does the chatbot really do? What problem does it address? What does it solve? That's very crucial. So start from there. Okay, I hope I've answered that question.
Yes, sir. Lakshya Agarwal, sir, it is from Lakshya Agarwal. Sir, I have a problem statement and also have a rough idea of the solution, which needs to be researched thoroughly. But I would I won't be able to create a physical prototype or a site for that. I will give the solution which can be implemented. Will it be accepted?
Okay, see, this is an innovation challenge. ATL Marathon is an innovation challenge. What it means is you don't not only understand the problem, but also you need to come up with a solution, not only describe the solution, but also you need to have some early version of the prototype. The prototype doesn't have to be fancy. It can be some rudimentary prototype. It can be just a dummy physical model, or it could be represented in the form of an animation or a video also. At the end of the day, if you can't really build it, if it is too complex, you can represent it in the form of an animation, for example, or in the form of a video or some PowerPoint slides or whatever. Create something, because it's not an innovation if you just get stuck at research and say this is the research and this is what is the problem, and that's not enough. You need to go and even say how to build it. I see that students make the mistake of picking up a very complex problem statement for which they don't know how to build. What happens then is you will not be able to build in your prototype. Whether you build, even if you build, it will not reflect, or it will not address, it will not even solve that problem statement. So there's no point in building a prototype like that, or just being in the air and being very vague. You need to know exactly how to build it, and at least you should show an early version of it. That is what innovation is all about. Innovation is not just an idea. If you just submit an idea, this is not an idea competition. Your idea will not get selected if you just submit an idea. Okay, you need to innovate. Innovate means you need to understand the problem, you need to research it, you need to understand it thoroughly, you need to come up with solution ideas, then you need to implement at least an early version of the idea or the prototype, what we call as the early version of the prototype, and test it. You need to give it to users, and they need to see how it works. They need to give you some feedback. This whole process is called innovation. Even if you do part of it, it is not innovation. So it's very important that you go through the entire process. Otherwise, it's not at all in innovation. You'll be just an idea, and everybody has ideas. I mean, ideas, everybody can come up with ideas, but innovators go the whole hog and they actually go research the problem, come up with solution, build something and show it to the world. So you need to show it to the world. If you don't show it to the world, it's not at all an innovation. Okay, so I hope I've answered that question as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
So let me quickly run through some more topics, and then I'll come back and take a few more questions. Is that okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I was talking about this focus areas, ATL Marathon focus areas. There are 4 focus areas: healthcare, education, energy, transport, and social inclusion. So let's quickly run through these 4 focus areas. Again, I want you to help you understand these. So please do pay good attention to this. Let's pick each of these focus areas. There are 2 problem statements given under each of these. These are the key challenges facing the country, and this is what ATL Innovation Mission would like you to innovate in these areas. So in education focus area, the first one says innovate to create solutions to make education and learning inclusive and resilient for all children. Inclusive means today it's not inclusive. I'll tell you what the real challenges are. Students in the cities, you have gadgets, computers, smartphones, all of these. But if you go to rural areas, small towns and small cities, they may not have. When the pandemic struck, what happened? All the schooling went online, and you could easily switch because your school allowed you to go to online mode, and you could use either Google Meet or Zoom or Microsoft Teams to have classes with your teachers. Teachers also had computers and laptops at home. Students also had computers, laptops, and smartphones. You could easily switch. But what happens to many students who are in villages or towns who don't have a smartphone at home, who don't have a computer? Their schooling immediately stopped when the pandemic came. Even otherwise, we have lots of challenges in our country where schools, our education is not so inclusive, right? Especially in rural areas or semi-urban areas, there are a lot of challenges. Good schooling, good quality education is still lacking in many areas of our country. and resilient. Again, as I said, because of the pandemic, if you run your school only when now what happens if the pandemic is again and again you're seeing waves and waves of the pandemic. Now we have the Omicron variant, and earlier we have some other Delta variant, and before that we had the coronavirus, the first version of the coronavirus. And now if you're not resilient, we'll not be able to adapt to the changes that are happening from time to time. So our education system has to adapt to the changing times. That is what is needed. That is where we need to innovate. What kind of innovations can we come up with for those students who don't have access to internet or mobile phones or laptops, or they don't have TVs, or in places like Ladakh or some other places where there is extreme weather condition? What happens to those kind of students? How can we make education inclusive and resilient so that every student in any part of the country can get good quality education? Okay, so that is the key challenge today. And fortunately, if you see, a lot of things are happening. It was happening even before the pandemic, and even now during the pandemic also things are happening. So it's important that we know what is happening around. So that's why you need to do research. If you don't do research, what happens is you will come up with the same solutions that people are already using it. I'll give you a few examples so that you become more clear. For example, this NGO, for example, they distributed self-learning kits to students in some villages in some part of the country. So the kits are basically has some notebooks and some learning textbooks and some pencils or whatever pens, whatever is required. They give it to the village kids so that they, even if they don't have internet, they don't have mobile phone, smartphone, they can still continue their education by doing self-studies. That is one unique solution that they came up with. Isn't it very interesting, very unique? They created this kit. And Google, if you see, they came up with this, it's called Loon or something. Now they've shut it down. But for a couple of years, they ran this program in which a hot air balloon floats in the sky and it provides internet connectivity to villages. What they do is because the hot air balloon is high up in the sky, it can cater to the nearby villages, the internet needs of villages. Otherwise, if you go to villages, you don't get good internet connectivity even today. So they made it accessible for people in rural areas to get internet and access the internet and get a lot of information. And in some schools, students went to cyber cafes because they didn't have computers at home. So they could go to a cyber cafe, which has a lot of computers, and they could pay like 10 rupees, 15 rupees per hour and access the computer. And that is how they could do studies. Okay. And this is a mobile school in which a bus goes from village to village. Okay. And and a teacher also goes with the bus, and the students go and sit in the bus, and the teacher has a blackboard or a whiteboard inside the bus, and the teacher teaches the kids. And after an hour or two, the school bus moves to another village. That is how it happens. And in some cases, even corporate companies have donated their old computers and laptops to village schools. So that is how they have been able to get access to internet and computers, and they could continue their education. So similarly, what else can you do? That's the idea. Okay. So that is where you need to come up with your innovative ideas. Similarly, soft skills are very important. This is the problem number 2. The soft skills, your personality skills, your confidence, your 21st century skills, which includes critical thinking skills, creative thinking skills, leadership, self-direction, ownership. A lot of these skills, you may not necessarily get it in your regular school, because your regular school is focused more on the curriculum, the subjects that they teach you. But if you want to acquire the skills, how do you acquire it? Can you innovate here? But today, if you see, a lot of schools are adopting to this change. First of all, they have computer classes. So everybody gets access to computers, at least in cities, if not in villages, so that you get digital media literacy skills. Apart from that, schools also have activity-based or project-based learning programs through which you get exposed to critical thinking, creative thinking, and many other kind of skills, collaboration and communication skills. And there are Scouts and Guides or National Cadet Corps, NCC programs in some schools, which will hone some of your 21st century skills, like leadership skills, and many other skills. And ATL Tinkering Labs itself is a great example which provides you access to 21st century skills. You learn a lot of things. You learn not only digital or technology skills, but in the process, you learn to collaborate, you learn to communicate, you develop entrepreneurial skills, and you have opportunities to participate in hackathons, makeathons, codeathons, webinars, workshops, boot camps, training programs like these. So you get a lot of exposure, and students today have more exposure. So similarly, what else can you do? How else can you provide all the soft skills or 21st century skills? Or how do you develop a mindset of innovation or creativity or entrepreneurship in children? That is the opportunity for you to think of ideas. So at least the problems are more clear now, but you still need to dig deeper and understand more in a more focused way. That's what I'm going to teach you in the next 6 days of this program, how to go about it step by step. Okay, so this is the first problem statement. And the second one is about energy and transportation. If you see a lot of accidents happen on our streets, a lot of people lose their life or get injured. So how can we come up with a solution or an innovation that makes it safe for both drivers as well as riders, or even maybe pedestrians, or sometimes even animals? They get stuck when they're trying to cross the road, and they get hit by a vehicle and they die. So what can we do? So today, if you see, there are some examples like this. Have you seen these kind of mirrors? They're put in some corners, may not be everywhere, but at least I see in some parts of the city where these kind of mirrors are reflector mirrors. They help you find if there is another vehicle approaching around the corner, and otherwise you may rush into the road and another vehicle may come and bang you. So to avoid that, you have these reflector mirrors, which is a very simple innovation. Or you have a fancy innovation like an anti-lock braking system, ABS it's called. It'll help you steer your vehicles even in case of emergency without locking up. Or they have these kind of innovations where there is an animal bridge on a road. So animals, instead of crossing on the road, they can take this bridge and cross over from one side of to the other side. That avoids a lot of accidents from happening. Okay, and there are airbags in vehicles, right? You are all familiar with airbags. In the case of a collision, the airbag inflates, and then your life gets saved. Or what is most prevalent is our traffic signal lights that will help you prevent accidents. And there are also cameras. If somebody is violating and jumping the red light, the camera can catch and give them a ticket, and they'll be fined. Or there are the speed guns that are used by traffic police, which will help them identify who are the violators, who are overspeeding on the roads, and they can catch them again and give them tickets. Right? So there are lots of solutions. You need to be aware of what is already there so that your innovation is not just another copy of this, rather you bring some differentiation over this or something radically new. That's something that you need to think of. And in terms of energy, that's the second problem statement. Today, we are talking about carbon footprint. First of all, to understand carbon footprint, we need to understand about climate change. I'm sure many of you have heard about climate change and global warming and all of these. Why? Because we are seeing a lot of floods happening. We are seeing glaciers melting. We are seeing cloudbursts, sudden heavy rainfall, flooding our urban cities. A lot of catastrophe is happening these days, right? And it's affecting us humans, animals, and the environment as a whole. Tsunamis are happening, forest fires are happening, a lot of havoc is happening these days. Because we are burning a lot of fossil fuels and we are warming the planet. A lot of carbon dioxide and methane and other greenhouse gases are getting into the atmosphere, and they're warming our atmosphere or the planet itself. And because it's warming, all the glaciers, which are in the form of ice, are started melting, and they started flooding our rivers. And those water, where else will they go? Suddenly they go and maybe they'll go into the sky again as water vapor, and they float somewhere else and have a cloudburst and a heavy rainfall, and people die there. So what can we do about this? How can we beat this? This is a big thing. If we don't address this, I don't think we can survive as a human race. If climate change becomes more intense, more and more millions of people will start dying. As sea level starts rising, the coastal cities and towns will start getting submerged. So we need to do something about this. So what's happening today? There's a move towards renewable energy sources. Instead of burning fossil fuels, okay, instead of drilling the earth or the seabed for oil and things like that, or petroleum and things like that, which is going to harm the environment, people are moving towards solar and wind-based power generation. And so this is one move that is happening, and you're also seeing electric vehicles coming into the market these days. There are also smart devices like this called smart plugs. What they do is they have a small energy meter inside them. If you plug in an appliance, it can help you measure how much energy is being consumed in your own house. This is a fantastic innovation which will help you how much your TV is consuming. If you keep your TV on or your fan on throughout the day, or if you don't switch off your lights, this kind of devices can tell you how much energy you're consuming. Where are you consuming? In the living room, in the bedroom, in the kitchen, or somewhere else. It can tell you how much energy you're wasting. And there are places where there are this carbon capture machines. When there are heavily polluted areas, like in Delhi, they are bringing in these kind of machines, which will suck in a lot of polluted air. It includes carbon dioxide and it gives out clean air on the other side. So it takes away a lot of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And there are people who have come up with mobile apps like these, which will help you track your own consumption of energy and how much you are contributing to the carbon footprint. Carbon footprint means how much energy or how much of carbon dioxide you are emitting from your own activity as a human being. So you can track your own energy consumption, your own carbon consumption through this app. So that's one thing that's happening today. And reuse, reduce, and recycle. This is the mantra everybody knows, but how much of it we really follow, that's something that you need to look at. Okay, one more thing is I've given a lot of articles and research reports for you to read up. So it's very important that you need to go through some of these research reports to understand more. Some of these may be heavy, but at least go and pick some of those things where you can get some good numbers to understand the problems better. Similarly, healthcare and nutrition. Okay, so I think we are running out of time, so I'll make it quick. Healthcare and nutrition is again one area where they want you to focus on the problems faced by people suffering from most common diseases of India. Okay, so basically diabetes, anemia, tuberculosis, malaria, typhoid, and others. So if you look at what's happening today, there are many solutions out there. There are small mobile apps which will remind patients to take their medicines. Those kind of apps are already available. Similarly, there are small self-monitoring devices which can help you measure your own blood pressure or maybe your blood sugar level. It can tell you that. Or there are apps which will help you find blood donors. So those people who need blood can go to that app and find who are the donors. They can approach them and they can get blood. Or there are heart rate monitoring. How much you walked, jogged, run, how much calories you have burned. The Ayurvedic home remedies apps are also available. Okay, there are lots and lots of apps. So it gives you a good idea of what people around are doing. And even Government of India has something called as Ayushman Bharat. This is a health insurance policy for the economically weaker sections of the country. So this again is an innovation. Don't think this is just a government initiative. That itself is an innovation because to cater to millions of people who can't afford insurance in our country, this is a great innovative idea that the Government of India has come up with, right? So innovations doesn't have to be only like some app or a device like this or a device like this. It can also be a scheme like this. This is also an innovation. So I just put this here so that you get an idea of the kind of innovations that we are looking at. Similarly, if you look at the second problem statement under health, it talks about malnutrition, obesity, and things like that. Malnutrition is basically children, especially children and mothers, don't have good nutrition in their body. They are very weak, they become anemic. In the process of that, they can develop a lot of problems. They have a stunted growth, or they can develop diseases. Some of the people get killed also. Globally, malnutrition kills 875,000 children every year, under the age of 5 every year. So many children are getting killed because of malnutrition. Okay, so what can we do about it? If you look at Akshaya Patra, which is one of the NGOs, they have come up with this midday meal scheme for school students. I'm sure many of you must be familiar with this midday meal schemes. They give you nutritious food to school children. Similarly, there are something called as ready-to-use therapeutic foods. These have been developed by some private companies. They are in the form of biscuits, and that have a lot of proteins and energy in them. There are also other products like snacks and snack bars and fortified powder, which will help improve the nutrition level of children. And educating people is yet another way to beat malnutrition. Otherwise, people are not even aware that somebody is suffering from malnutrition. So educating them, telling them what are the symptoms, that itself can be an innovation, for example. Similarly, overweight and obesity is another big problem that is happening today. A lot of people are becoming fatter because they're using unhealthy foods, they're eating unhealthy foods, or maybe they're eating junk food. So what can we do about those things? In US, they wanted to tackle this problem of obesity among children. So they came up with a very interesting, innovative solution. They gave a small device, a music player, in fact, with a motion sensor in it. And they gave it to the children and asked them to listen to their music and then dance or whatever, do whatever activity they wanted to. And at the end of the week, they had to go and take that device to the school. And the school would look at how much exercise or activity you have done through the week. And if you have scored high, then they would give you an award. So that's a very interesting way to deal with obesity. So similarly, can you come up with some innovative ideas? So there are lots of things like this, okay? Social inclusion. Social inclusion basically is about financial inclusion, is one aspect of it. There are many things in social inclusion. Financial inclusion is basically means that many poor people don't have access to banks. They don't have facility to get insurance cover, or they cannot get loans. So there are lots of challenges for people. They're called unbanked people. So government of India also has come up with something called as Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana that gives them banking access. They can open bank accounts. Even if they don't have money, they can open bank accounts. They can have mobile banking. Even if the bank branch is very far, they can go use the banking facility, and from the convenience of their own home, they can do their banking. Or microfinance, it gives small loans to people. Okay, people who don't have much collateral to give in return. Crowdsource, you can crowdsource small funds to start your own business, for example. Or there is something called as M-Pesa in Africa, in which you can transfer money through a mobile phone. And there is Atal Pension Yojana, in which gives insurance coverage to elderly people who don't normally get insurance coverage for health issues. When they get hospitalized, they don't have money to pay for the hospitals. So the government gives them Atal Pension Yojana, which is an insurance scheme. So you can go through and understand in more detail. Similarly, there are language challenges. India is a very diverse country. There are different languages being spoken. How do we, government or a private entity which wants to go and engage with people in different places, different regions, talk to them? That means you need to understand the language, you need to understand the culture, you need to understand a lot of things about them. So this is another area which is ripe for education in our country. Okay. So if you see today, there are multilingual supports that is available. If you call a call center, they can answer in multiple languages. Or there are chatbots which can respond to you in different languages. If you just open your smartphone, you can configure it to see a smartphone in different languages, whether it is Hindi or whether it is Telugu, Tamil, whatever, Gujarati or Rajasthani or Bengali, you can configure it. And even your keypad, you can have different languages. Or if you go to YouTube or Netflix, you can watch the movies in your own native language. Instead of watching in Hindi or English only, like earlier, now we can watch in multiple regional languages. You can even get subtitles in local languages. Even websites allow you to change your language. So there are a lot of possibilities like this, possibilities for innovation. So I would encourage you to go and look at all of these. Okay. And how do you approach the marathon? You can either pick one of those problem statements and drill down further, or you can pick a problem statement that is in which you observe in your own area, in your own community, and start from there. This is the bottom-up approach, is the one we are going to take up in this training program in the next few days. Okay. And pitfalls, I don't have much time to go through this now. I've already written it. You can go through this. Please try to avoid some of these pitfalls. Pitfalls are basically mistakes that students commonly do. Okay, if you don't give sufficient time, you will not be able to make good submission. Okay, and don't submit ideas, submit innovations, as I said earlier. And you need to have your idea backed by strong research. And don't submit the first idea that comes to mind. You need to think of multiple ideas. And don't drop ideas just because somebody else has done it. Try to find some differentiation. And make sure that your innovation, it's actually innovative, it's something novel, and it has wide applicability. It's not too narrow. And make sure that your prototype reflects the problem statement and not just some very, there should not be a wide gap between what you have stated in your problem statement and what you have built. Your prototype should reflect at least the core essence of what your problem statement is all about. And don't be driven by competition. This is the last message I want to give. Start early, don't even worry about marathon. Start solving a real problem which really interests you and keep working on it. And when you get to a good stage and if a competition comes, go ahead and submit it. Okay, don't start working when the competition comes or when the competition deadline is next 1 week or 10 days. That's not the way to approach competition. You need to put in a lot of effort. It takes many weeks, many months sometimes. And you have academics and other things to worry about. So you cannot do rush things, okay? And we're going to use a process called design thinking in the next few days. Tomorrow's sessions will be more about design thinking. So you will learn more deeper into it. Not only design thinking, we'll also learn about the various kinds of innovations, what kind of innovations you need to aim for and things like that. And there are many tools that we are going to learn. In fact, we are going to learn 18 different problem solving tools. When I say tools, doesn't mean that there's necessarily software tools. Of course, there are softwares also for these, but these are tools that you can actually do with paper and pencil or paper and pen. There are software tools, of course you can use it, but right now I want you to do all these tools, diagrams and pictures, the mind maps and the empathy map, all of these that we talked about on the WhatsApp group yesterday. You can just do it with a paper and pencil or with a PowerPoint slide or a Word document, as simple as that. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. In tomorrow's session, we are going to go deep dive into this. So now pretty much I've covered most of the things. And just one more thing I wanted to show you is the tools part itself. If you go to the tools menu, you will see all the tools that we're going to use in this. So at least go through this today, get a little familiar with some of these tools. If you are familiar, you will not find it difficult. Of course, I'm going to illustrate every single tool we are going to cover through examples, but it will help you if you read this up. Okay, there are some 17 or 18 different tools that we are going to use in this training program. And this is what differentiates you from anybody else. If you know these tools, you know how to use them, you become a much better problem solver or an innovator compared to other guys. Because the other guys are just doing in a haphazard way or in a chaotic way. They don't know how to do it in a structured way using tools. That's what differentiates you from them. And there's also a mentoring menu that I've added. It gives you the links to all the mentoring sessions, including from today. If you click here, you can actually start watching YouTube recording of it, or you can watch the YouTube live session itself. And to join the session, just go and click on the Zoom link. You can also watch from YouTube. Okay, so all the days, both Zoom and YouTube links are provided, so you can go through this. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. So tomorrow I'm going to add day 2 menu here. You will see a new menu called day 2. You will see more about design thinking tomorrow. And then from day 3 onwards, we are actually going to take up an example and run through one case study of how to do problem solving using those 18 tools. By day 7, you will know exactly what it takes to tackle any problem, any challenge, and come up with a innovative prototype. The last part is a prototype. But before that, there is a lot of things that you need to do. There's something called as primary research, secondary research, and many other things. Okay. So let me unshare my screen right now, and or maybe I'll keep the screen sharing in case you have any questions. So we'll go back to questions. So Lilambika ma'am and Fanindra sir, if you can take more questions now.
Sir, here is a question from Mahalakshmi, sir. Sir, the entry document says it should be under 300 words. So it is all things combined like research, idea, what we have done, survey, etc. Then, sir, can you give us an idea in how to work all these things under 300 words?
Yeah, certainly. As part of the training program, we will come to that. And finally, how do you prepare your research document? I'm going to cover that part also, probably on the last day, or maybe we can have even an extra day if students require it. We can have a separate session for that also. How to prepare your research document, how to create your video, how to do it under 300 words. So we will definitely cover that part. It's a very important question, no doubt.
Sir, and
Yeah.
the next question is from Y Jishnu. Sir, where can I get the link to create an account?
Account for creating an account on the ATL Marathon. I already showed you that. In fact, if you go here, day one, I showed you. If you go to participant guideline section, if you go here, where to submit is also where you also register. If you click on this link, the last but one bullet point under submission section, click here. It goes to this website, auth.mygo.in/user/login, something is there. This link, okay? I can even put it in the chat window. Let me put it in the chat window here.
Sir, the question is from Kavana.
Okay.
If we have a team of 2, then do both of us have to submit the prototype, or does one of us have to submit it?
No, it's a team. When you say it's a team, you jointly work on it. It's a team effort. It goes in both of your names. It's not Kavana or somebody else. The prototype belongs to both of you. You work as a team, you give a name to your team, and the team has both your names. So finally, when you get your certificate from Atal Innovation Mission will have both your names. If you get selected in top 100 or top 300, both your names will appear on it. So, but you can divide your work. Somebody may do research, somebody may do prototype, somebody may do design, somebody may do something else. So if you have a team of 2 or 3, you can split the work so that each of you take up some role in it and everybody should contribute. In fact, the application form asks you what is the role played by each team member. If some team member is just sleeping and not contributing to it, you cannot put their name because you need to show what their contribution is. So many times I've seen some students are active, some students are not at all active in the team. That should not happen. Everybody should contribute. And it's very important that you learn collaboration skills in the process. That means even if there are disagreements, even if there are different opinions, somehow you need to make sure that you work together and you should not get into fights or you should not stop talking to each other because of this. Okay, I've seen such instances happening in the past. So that's why I'm saying make sure that doesn't happen and you continue, go through the entire thing, or somebody doesn't like somebody else, so they just drop off in the middle of the engagement. That should not happen. Yes, let's take more questions.
Yes, sir. Sir, it is from A.G. Sharma. Sir, I have an idea. Can we make a machine for cars which is used in a highly accident-prone area? This machine basically works as this automatically slow up car speed in accident-prone areas by using their sensors and its signal providers inside inside the traffic light or any signal board.
I would say don't talk in terms of solution, talk in terms of problem. What is the problem that you're trying to address? That is the mind shift that we are trying to bring through this ATL marathon. I see every student talking in terms of solution, okay, or the idea. Don't talk in terms of idea. This is not at all an idea competition. If you want to say something, you need to talk in terms of a problem that you're trying to tackle. Is what I would like to hear more is what is that problem that you're trying to tackle rather than what is the solution. The solution will come, but it's a secondary part. Unless you tell me what is the problem that you're trying to tackle and you explain that in more detail, the solution has no relevance. So to answer your question, yes, you can submit it, but you need to be very clear about the problem that you're trying to solve. You can't just say, I'm going to come up with this machine in accident prone area. You need to go into the details. What is that accident prone area? What kind of accidents happen there? What exactly is the issue there? How many lives are lost, or people are getting injured, or what exactly is that? So, and then describe that in a lot of detail, do research, and then you may not need a fancy machine. You may be able to solve it through a very simple means. Maybe you can just put a road hump. That's it. That can be as simple as solution. Sometimes the solutions can be very simple if we understand the problem very well. If we don't understand the problem well, we can think of very fancy machines. But that machine may or may not be needed depending on what the problem is. So always start and explain the problem first. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
it is from Sarthak Ghosh. Sir, I have a doubt. Should we have our own idea or should we use another idea?
See, this is not an idea competition, as I said earlier. What you're supposed to do is you need to observe problems and challenges faced by either yourself or by people around you in your own neighborhood or community. Based on that observation, you identify a problem and you start working towards that problem, and finally you come up with a solution. That is the way you need to approach, rather than saying, okay, should I work on my own idea or somebody's idea? That's definitely don't work on somebody's idea. Work on your own idea. Okay.
Sir, Akshat Jayesh. So he
Uh-huh.
is saying that, sir, can we work on the idea already present by modifying them?
Yeah, if you can modify it, you can make some improvements so that it addresses the problem better. Then definitely you are welcome to do that. Yeah, but again, what is that problem that you can that is still present in the current solution that you need to understand? Then only you can bring improvements, not otherwise.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Alia Gupta. Sir,
Mhm.
me and my partner are making two different themed prototypes, but
Okay.
they are based on the same concept. And we both give ideas and some content to put on our prototype. We have decided whichever looks better, we will submit that one. What can we mention in our roles as we will submit only one?
See, I don't know. Basically, you need to look at what is the problem that you're trying to address. So again, go back to that and pick a good problem and come up with a good solution for it. And don't try to work on multiple problems simultaneously. What happens is you lose more time in doing that. If you hedge your bet and say, okay, I'm going to try this also, I'm going to try that also, and I'm going to try something else also, and whichever works better, I'll submit it. That means none of them will work better at the end of the day, because you will lose time trying to do multiple things. So pick one, go deep into it, understand the problem, then come up with one good solution, and make sure that you can actually implement the prototype. That means you should know how to build the prototype. You should not say that, okay, I'm going to build a spaceship which will go to some Jupiter or some Saturn, because you don't have the technology. You don't know how to build it, right? We are not expecting you to do rocket science here, but at least you should show a prototype that that addresses a core problem. Okay, at least you should demonstrate some basic things. It may not be a rocket that goes from planet to planet, but still it should show something. Okay, and it should really show the value of the solution that you're coming up with. If it doesn't do that, then it's of no use.
Thank you, sir.
So
Sir,
pick one
Aryan.
problem and go after it.
Yes, sir. Aryan Agarwal. Sir, what are the sources from which we can gather the information?
Okay, see, there are two ways in this training program. That's what you're going to understand. To gather information, we call that process as research. There are two types of research that we primarily will look at. One is called primary research, another is called secondary research. Primary research means we need to go and observe people. We need to observe situations. We need to observe scenarios. We need to identify problems there. We need to identify people who are affected by the problem. And maybe we need to talk to them. It's called interviewing process, and we probably have to experience ourselves. Maybe if you want to understand how a person with mobility disablement is there, you need to probably go and sit in a wheelchair and try to move yourself and see how difficult it is, right? So people with those kind of challenges, you will not understand if you just look at them. You need to go sit there and you need to move yourself on a road or trying to climb a footpath from a road. Then you'll know how difficult it is. So that is called experiencing. That is another way to gather information. And finally, you also need to go and search. It's called secondary research, in which you go find information on the web, or maybe read up in books or manuals or periodicals or magazines, or look for some reports. I've already given those links to those reports in the buttons at the end of every problem statement. Unless you go there, you will not know how big the problem is. So you need to do both primary and secondary research. In fact, if you watch the video from ATL Innovation Mission, they clearly say that you need to do both primary and secondary research. So unless you do both and demonstrate in your research document that you have done all this primary research, you have done the secondary research, your research document has no value. So anything that is not backed by research, if it is just an idea and you build some small prototype around it, it doesn't hold water. It doesn't get selected because there's nothing to back it up. A research is the one which says, I built this because these are the reasons, these are the insights I gained, this is the outcome of the research. So your research is very important. If you look at the tagline, first term they use is research. What is the tagline of ATL Marathon? Research, ideate, innovate, and build, something like that, right? There are four things. So research is very important. Yes.
Yes, sir. Hope we are done with all the questions. And Leelambuka ma'am have answered a few questions in chat box only, sir.
Okay. So is there anyone who want to just speak and ask? Maybe we can give them chance to. If you,
Sir, AG Sharma, like we can unmute him. He wanted to share his problem. AG Sharma, just a minute, I'll unmute you. AG Sharma, you can please unmute yourself. Yes, Sharma, you can speak.
Yes, sir. First of all, very good evening. Sir, my problem is, sir, that in India, there are more than 1.20 lakh cases of road accidents due to overspeeding of cars. So, sir, I have an idea. Can we make a machine for cars which is used in highly accident-prone areas? This machine basically works as this automatically slow up car speed in accident-prone areas by using their sensors.
yeah, I think this is what Phanindra sir earlier brought it up, right?
Yes,
the same thing.
Yes, sir,
okay.
Same thing.
So what's your name?
Sir, my name is Anurag Sharma.
Anurag Sharma. Okay, Anurag Sharma, basically you need to explain the problem in more detail. That means you need to say, if you just say accident prone areas, that may not be sufficient. So please do research. The idea seems interesting. Definitely, if it can save people's lives, fantastic. You can work on it. Make sure that you elaborate the problem and understand it more, empathize with the kind of challenges that people face when an accident happens, whether they will get ambulance, whether they get medical help, whether there are police cases filed. Lots of challenges come, both medical as well as legal challenges arise when an accident happens. How do people deal with it? What are the problems that they face? Who are the kind of people who are affected by it? So you need to go deep into that problem and then come up with a solution. So then you can talk about whatever that mission is. Okay, but the mission is less important. But first you need to understand more details about the kind of accidents and the consequences of it. Okay, so I hope I have answered that.
So we have Alia Gupta to ask her doubts. Sir.
Okay.
Alia, you can.
Yes, sir. First of all, good evening, sir. Am I clearly audible?
Yeah, can you speak a bit louder?
Sir, am I clearly audible?
Yeah, better now.
Yes, sir. So, first of all, good evening. My name is Alia, and I want to ask that in my team there are two members, including me and one more. There is, and sir, I want to ask that we are making an online prototype. So on that online prototype, because we are not right now meeting each other, so we are conducting meeting and sessions for each other every day almost, and we are working on the same thing but at our different homes, because we have not actually divided the content. What we are doing is that we are making the prototype at both the places, and we are deciding that we will divide the content that is at the online prototype between
Mhm.
both of us, and whichever prototype works and looks better, we will submit that into the submission form. So, sir, I want to ask that what can we write in the role form? Because if we write that they also help us to make content, do we need to be very specific that what type of content they helped us to?
Yeah, yes, of course. You're asking about the role of team members, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you need to be very clear and say what is that role they have played, what kind of content they have created. You need to write in a summarized fashion in the application form. So it's very important that everybody contributes, definitely.
Okay, sir. And so one more thing, that whatever prototype we are making, do we also in that prototype, if it is possible, do we can also mention our names that this prototype is made by this and this, if the prototype is available and appropriate for mentioning our names.
Come on, I didn't get the question.
So please repeat.
Can you repeat the question again? I didn't understand what you're trying to say.
Yes, sir. So I'm saying that whatever prototype we are making, if it is appropriate in that prototype, we can put our names in it. That this is made by this and this. Whoever has made this, is it appropriate, or we will be disqualified for that?
See, when you're saying when you're submitting the application form, right?
No, sir. So the prototype that we have made or we are making, in that prototype we mention our names. No, we mention our names in the form, but including that we mention in our prototype also.
Yeah, you can. You can definitely. If it is an online prototype, you can definitely mention the names also.
Okay,
You
sir.
can.
Okay.
Certainly. Not an issue at all. Put your name. Make sure that your name is clearly seen so that somebody doesn't take your idea away.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome.
So we have Mandlar. I request Mandlar to unmute and we can ask your doubt.
Good evening, sir. I'm not Mandala. It's my father's ID. I am Ritika, actually.
Okay. Yeah, Ritika.
Okay, sir. Actually, I have an idea for the project which is related to healthcare and nutrition. Can I tell?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sir. Sir, my idea is that our topic is related to heart diseases. In a 1 year, a lot of deaths are caused due to heart diseases. Sometimes some people are not even aware and they get heart attack, and there are so many problems. So, sir, we have decided to find a solution for this problem. Sir, the solution we have thought of finding out is we can just first we have made an app which will ask us some questions, and based on it it will detect that whether the person is at risk to get heart disease or not. And then we will be making, we although we wanted to make a physical prototype, but although it's not possible, we will be making a model of it, and we'll be explaining that. And after that, in it, what will happen that when we will bring it close to our heart, it will detect the cholesterol level and other things, and it will be automatically automatically making a noise, if it will be more than normal, and the person will be saved from getting heart attacks or some other problems a lot of time earlier only.
Yeah, I think you shared this idea in the group also, right? I had responded to it.
No, sir, I had.
Basically, when you say innovation, but I saw something like this, somebody shared by some on the group. Okay, irrespective of that, let me explain. When you say innovation, innovation has three components to it. One is understanding the need of the user, whether the user really has a need for it. So does your idea or innovation, does it have a need for it? Yes, probably it has a need, but because you can, it addresses certain challenges faced by patients who are at risk of heart diseases. The second question is, will people buy your innovation? Does it have business viability? Yes, definitely. If you can build a solution like this, people are definitely going to buy it. I don't think there is any doubt about it. But the third component is called technological feasibility. Do you know how to build this solution? You're saying that you will take this sensor near the heart and it can detect something like cholesterol or whatever. Do you have the technology? Do you know how it works? Can you explain it? So if you don't, and if you're just going to build some animation or something, it's not going to be an innovation. For an innovation, you also need to be clearly saying how to build it. If you don't know the how part, it cannot become an innovation. It can be just an idea, because I can also put an idea and say that yes, I can go to moon, or I can go to Mars or Jupiter. But do I have the technology or a spaceship to go to Jupiter today? No, I don't have. Then it cannot become an innovation. Can people go to Mars? Nobody has put people on Mars so far. Do we have the technology? Not yet. We don't yet have the technology to put people on Mars. So it's not an innovation. So unless you know how to build it, it cannot become an innovation. So that's my answer. So do you know how to build it? Pritika, do you know how to build it? So if you know how to build it, great, go ahead and proceed with the idea. If you don't know how to build it, if you're just going to show a video or an animation of it, it will be just an animation of an idea. It will not be an innovation. So this is an innovation contest. It is not at all an idea contest. So if you don't know how to build it, my suggestion is don't proceed with that idea at all. You should know how to build it, at least some basic things, at least to show the concept of it working. Okay.
Sir, actually, it will be using the cholesterol sensor to sense the cholesterol. Actually, it will use some materials which are not available at home, and due to the increasing cases of Omicron, we can't even go to school to go to the Tinker lab to get those materials.
No, do you have a cholesterol sensor in your ATL, first of all?
Sir, actually, I'm not aware about the materials
Then
available.
how are you saying that it's an innovation? Unless you know it really works, you can use a cholesterol sensor. I never know that. I don't know whether there is a cholesterol sensor in the first place. I don't think cholesterol can be detected with just a sensor which you keep near your heart, and it can. If it is so simple, then I don't think anybody needs to take a blood sugar. So when I get my cholesterol level checked, I give a blood sample. Even today, in any part of the country or the world, they still take blood sample to test your cholesterol level. I don't think there is any device. If I just bring it near my heart or somewhere, if it can detect my cholesterol level, it will be fantastic innovation, no doubt. But is there a technology to do it? So if you don't,
Sir,
unless you
actually,
know there is a cholesterol sensor that you can use and you have tried it and you know exactly how it works, it's not an innovation. You should know how to build it. Otherwise, it will be just imagining. You're just imagining that, okay, if there is a cholesterol sensor, then the solution will work. But it's an if. You don't know for sure, right?
Sir, we can then whatever components which are there in the cholesterol, we can use that sensor which are available, and all the materials which all the components in the cholesterol, we can use those sensors if they are available to sense the cholesterol.
No, do you know how exactly to build it? That's my question.
Sir, actually, I have to do more research about it. I have the basics of the ideas, and we have just done the basics of the ideas, and we are pending with our project.
Okay, but do more research, find out whether it is not only research about the problem, but research about the technology also, and whether it is something that can be attempted by a school student. Okay.
Okay,
So if
sir.
it is something very complex, I don't think you should get into that, because even if companies are struggling to do it, big companies are not able to do it. But if you can come up with a better, simpler approach and you can demonstrate how exactly it works, great. It's, yeah, sometimes out of the box ideas can definitely help if you can come up with a new way of doing it, but you should know exactly how to do it. If it can be very simple, it doesn't have to be a very complex machine, but you should know how it works. So give it a try, but don't assume anything. All your whatever assumptions you have, you need to validate it and make sure that you know how exactly to build it and how exactly it works. When you show your prototype demonstration, it should be able to detect and measure cholesterol level. If it cannot do it, then it's not an innovation. It's just an idea, and you created a prototype of your idea. It's just a prototype of idea. It's not a prototype of innovation. That's a huge difference. Most of the students miss this point. So it's a generic comment I'm making. You need to really, if you're saying it's an innovation, you need to be able to show it working. What ATL Innovation Mission wants you to do is show a working prototype, or at least it should be very obvious. Even if you were to build an animation and show it, it should be obvious that it works this way. If there are a lot of unknowns in it, then it doesn't fly. Okay, so you need to get out of idea mindset and get into innovation mindset. That's why we are going to go through this training program, and maybe by end of 7th day you can come back and tell me whether you want to pursue this idea, or you want to come up with you want to go deep and find out whether you can actually build it. So decide that at a later stage. Okay, so go through the training program in the meanwhile. Yeah. So anything else, or are we running out of time? I think we have already run out of time. We planned for 1 hour, but maybe it's 5:30 already. Oh, it's 5:40. My God.
Yes, sir. One last question by Mahalakshmi. Sir, I hope visual impairment comes under health and just a minute, sir. I'm not able to read.
Sir, it says, ma'am and sir, I hope visual impairment comes under health and insurance, and health, and not under health and nutrition, and not social inclusion. A visual impairment. Yes, sir.
It can be a health issue. It can also be an issue under social inclusion, because social inclusion also involves how do we include people who have certain disabilities. It is not just financial inclusion alone, but maybe some people don't have access to certain facilities because they have certain disabilities. Either it could be a visual impairment, or it could be a movement disability. For example, if somebody is not able to walk and they have to sit on a wheelchair and move forward, and if there are steps, and if they cannot climb up the steps, if sitting in a wheelchair, so do we provide a ramp for them to climb up? So if we provide a ramp, that means we are making it inclusive for those kind of people with disabilities. Also, we are including them in our planning, in our everything that we do for them. We are making things inclusive. The buildings are more inclusive for people with disabilities, maybe visual or maybe otherwise physical disabilities. So it can be considered under both health as well as social inclusion. Social inclusion, although the problem statement talks about financial inclusion, it doesn't have to be only financial inclusion. There are two problem statements. One talks about financial inclusion. Second one talks about language and regional cultural inclusion, because we speak so many different languages in our country. So again, people get marginalized if they don't know English, right? I mean, some parts of the country, if they don't know English, it becomes challenging for them. So how can we make content and information available in regional languages so that they don't get excluded? If everything is in English and we don't know English, if let's say if I don't know English and if I can't speak, if I can't read it, then I am marginalized, I'm not included. So there are different kinds of inclusion. I think her idea falls under both brackets. You can submit it under one, whichever you think is appropriate. Yes, ma'am. Any other?
And few people are asking that they wanted to share their ideas now itself, sir. Do we have time? Do we have time? Or
yeah, I can. Not an issue for me. I didn't want to hold all the students for 2 hours. But if somebody wants to stay back and ask, you can feel free to stay back. I'm not sure what about your time, sir, Fanindra sir and Lilambika ma'am. Again, if you're running late, you can let me know. We can probably have another session or maybe discuss this on WhatsApp. Personally, I can go for another 5-10 minutes, not an issue.
Okay, sir.
If other students don't have questions, if they want to drop off, feel free to drop off. I don't want to hold you back for so long. But if you are interested in asking questions or just listening in and knowing what it takes to submit an entry to ATL Marathon, what is the difference between idea and innovation? I'm explaining in so many words. Yes, so you can stay back and listen in.
Again, Suaban. Again, he asked the same, sir. I have an idea to make a solar generator. Is it good or bad?
I can't say because it's an idea. This is an innovation. Innovation means you should start with a problem. You need to say what is the problem that you're trying to address and whether solar will fit that problem. Will solar be a good solution for that problem? So instead of saying I want to build something, you can say I want to address this problem. That is how we need to come to this ATL Marathon. We encourage less of ideas, but we encourage more of problem solving. Idea is the second part of problem solving. First, you need to understand what is the problem that you want to tackle. So instead of saying, I want to build a solar solution, you can say, what is that problem that you're trying to tackle? So do you have some clarity on the problem? Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, Paulasia is on call. He wanted to ask a doubt in his idea. Paulasia, yes. Please unmute, Paulasia.
Okay, is Paulasia not around?
Yes, sir. He's not responding. AG Sharma. Sir, sir, why we are going? Okay, why we are go in more detail, although we have opportunity to stop these road accidents. If accident not happen, then we don't need to go in detail like medical or other things. AG Sharma, you can unmute now.
Yes, sir. So like when you say that they are more in details, you go on to like medical. then sir, why we are going more detail? Although we have opportunity to stop these road accidents. If road accidents not happen, then we don't know to need to go in details.
No, when I say go into details about accidents, I want you to understand what kind of accidents are you dealing with. Are you dealing with accidents? Is it vehicular accidents, first of all? If it is vehicular accidents, is it on city roads? Is it on village roads? Is it on highways?
On highways, sir.
And huh?
On highways and roads.
So you need to go more and more specific. So that's what I mean by going into the details. You need to be specific. Is it on highways? If it is on highways, what kind of problems will be there on highways? How are you
Overspeeding,
going?
sir.
Overspeeding may be one. Narrow roads could be one. Okay, this and there is no road divider in between. Maybe that could be the reason. There
Yes,
may
all
be so
these.
many things. So when you start observing the problem, you will discover so many things about the problem. Maybe it's a narrow stretch of the road, or there's a curve there, or the curve needs to be broadened. Maybe that is a simpler solution than coming out with maybe any other solution. Or maybe a road divider has to be put in the middle,
So,
or there
sir,
should be put road humps. Maybe solutions could be different depending on the more closely you can observe the problem, your solution can vary.
can we make machine for this problem, or we can't?
It depends. It depends. I can't say which machine you should put a machine there. I mean, what kind of
Because sir,
machine?
there are very lots of sensors are present.
And first, understand in depth what. So instead of saying accidents, can you pick one specific area in your own community where there are a lot of accidents happening? Can you go there, stand for a few minutes or a few hours, and observe what happens there? How vehicles move? Do they come very fast and do they suddenly brake? Does suddenly some pedestrian come in between? What exactly happens? So the first step that we are going to do is we are going to give you an exercise called observation activity in this training program. As part of that, you're supposed to go and observe things. So in this marathon, what Atal Innovation Mission wants you to do is look at problems in your community. That means you can't generalize and say, I'm going to solve accident problems. Instead of that, you need to first go and see where exactly those accidents are happening in your own community, on which specific road, on what time of the day, or on what days of the week. What kind of accidents are more frequent? Is it like buses, or is it some trucks and lorries? Is it some maybe two-wheelers? So you need to go and observe a lot of things. So observation is the first step. So you need to observe, and then you need to analyze the observation. Then you need to talk to people who are affected by those, whether it is policeman or whether it's an ambulance driver, or maybe if it is the person who has met with an accident, you need to talk to them, understand their challenges from their own perspective. A person who has met with an accident has one perspective. The other person who came and hit him has another perspective about the problem. He might say, I couldn't see the other guy, so I came and hit. So that means maybe your sensor can, if the sensor can help the other person see and brake, put a brake and avoid collision, maybe it's a good solution. So you need to go and really see at one spot. So it's not about generally saying, okay, accidents is one thing, but being very specific to one particular place in your own community to see where that accident is very, very crucial. So otherwise, we can just say, I mean, I'm going to solve the world's hunger problem. Is it possible? No, because every region has different challenges. I'm going to solve poverty. No, I'm going to solve all accidents. No, it's a very broad statement. You need to narrow down to a very specific thing that you have observed in your own community, in your own neighborhood, in your own street or school or whatever. And you need to start from there. The problem statement should start with clear observation. Otherwise, it has no value.
We have Alia. Alia has a doubt that she has got one problem and the solution, but she don't know under which team it should be put.
Which focus area you mean? Which problem statement?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Alia, you can elaborate
So actually,
your
I have
voice is your voice is not clear, Alia.
now.
Yeah, better. Still, you can keep your mic near to you.
Yes, sir. So actually, I have an idea that we are going to use in our ATL marathon, and we are still using. So actually, what we are doing is we have not taken a very broad theme, but we have taken a problem that is specific for an age group. That is, you can say class 5 to class 11th or 12th. Because in this problem that we have taken, it is mostly for school students, and this problem is that most of the students don't get guidance for their future, and they are just learning new things, or most of the students are just memorizing. They are not even understanding. They're just memorizing the things, and planning to mug up and score full marks. But our prototype is that they will teach them, first of all, they will teach them a lot of things, like they will teach them digital skills, and they will also teach them how to be digitally secure. As in Corona pandemic times, we need to be digitally secure the most, especially students, because they don't have that much knowledge. And secondly, sir, we are also going to teach about learning techniques that are not taught in school, or mostly no one actually gives these learning techniques. And if we try to search it on Google, we'll get a lot of results, but we have chosen the best ones. And because actually this problem is faced by me and my partner also, and I think every student that is present here. So this is a problem that I've already experienced. That is why we have chosen this.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And
Yeah.
yes,
So yeah, you have understood the problem to a certain extent. What I suggest is in the next few days, let's go through the various steps of going deeper into the problem. So if you go ahead and complete those activities and exercises and use those tools and techniques, you will be able to do a thorough job of documenting, not only documenting, but also understanding the problem well, empathizing with the users and their needs and challenges, and then you can come up with a solution. And in your research document, before you submit, you can capture all these details.
okay, sir. So, sir, our
Sir, her
prototype.
doubt is in which focus area will it fit?
Yes, sir. In this focus
Education,
area.
maybe you can put it under education.
Okay, sir. Sir, is there any particular thing, because we are also planning to add a section for improving confidence, that is a soft skill.
Soft
So
skills.
yes, sir. So
Yeah.
we'll put it in education only.
Yeah, sure. Education. Yes, education, it will definitely fit under the second problem statement. I think that's a good fit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. And sir, one
Sir,
more thing, that do you need to give any type of suggestions for our prototype or idea, or uh, according to us, we are going to innovate a lot of things more. But this is our basic idea. Do you have any type of suggestions that we should change it or something?
You're asking whether I have any suggestions, ideas or suggestions.
Yes, sir. So just a small suggestion for our basic idea, so that we can now start up with innovating in our idea more.
Okay, so what I suggest is if you can go through the next 6 days of the training program, I'm sure you'll get a lot more clarity. And after the training program, we can have one more session where, with more clarity, you can explain me the your solution or your entry, whatever you plan to submit. And then at that time, I think it will be better to for me to share some thoughts and suggestions or feedback also. Hmm? So you need to do some more groundwork. What you have explained me is very little details right now, but if you can do the complete research, observation, and everything, come with more concrete details, then we can discuss.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Sure.
so we have Mahalakshmi wanted to speak, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, Mahalakshmi, We have only 2-3 minutes time. Can you just share what is your doubt
Yes,
in a
sir.
very
I'll keep
fast
it
way?
short. I'll keep it
Yeah.
short. Yes, sir. So, sir, our idea is on smart glasses. It's for visually impaired people. Nowadays, smart glasses already exist, but it's for people who can already see. It has a Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, everything for their daily use. But our idea is for visually impaired people because they need it more. So, sir, our idea is that in the spectacles, there's a camera, there's a navigating system, and there's an app for the entire idea. So what
But
the
what is the
camera
problem that you're trying to tackle?
so
You're
the
telling me
problem
about the
is for
solution.
the complete visual impairment for people who can't completely see. So their problems are one second, I just documented it. Navigating around places or finding reading material or getting devices to become independent. There are plenty of problems faced by completely visually impaired people. So to
Mhm.
make their life much easier, for them to have a idea on how the world looks for them, how the world is colorful, and how to basically get it into their mind and not feel that why am I born like this, or not feel included in the society. So,
Okay.
sir, our thing will have a camera. It'll have a microphone. Those specs also has a microphone. So how it works? The camera works similar to Google lenses. So it'll
Okay.
detect objects that are in front of it. Suppose example, if there's a pothole in front and the person is walking, instead of using a stick and to like
Mhm.
letting everyone know that okay, here's a blind man, you don't need a stick. All you need is to wear the glasses, which plenty of people wear it now. It's like common. It'll look something like sunglasses so that it doesn't
Mhm.
even feel like you are actually blind. So you just
Okay.
walk on the road and suppose there's a pothole in front of you. The camera detects this and warns the person, providing additional instructions on how to avoid it. So it'll just be like, careful, there's a pothole in front of you. Take 2 steps to the right and walk front.
Can you
The
build this?
instructions will be given.
Mahalakshmi, I think the idea
Yeah,
is great, no
yes,
doubt,
sir.
but do
But
you know how exactly to build it? Do you
I've
have the
gone.
technology skills?
Uh, I'm still researching, sir, but I've gone through a few videos where these type of already exists, where the specs can actually talk to you and it can actually show you the directions and all of this. There are a few videos, sir, but not all of these are combined, and all those lenses are basically for people who can already see. It's more like a
Yeah.
smart watch, but it's converted into glasses. So I thought instead of making it available for people who can already see it, it'll be better if visual impaired people will have it.
Okay, this is an idea, no doubt as an idea, it's good. But what I'm saying is, if you want to make it an innovation, you also need to know how to build it. You need to make it work. It should be a working prototype. So, so unless you know how to build it, unless you know the technology involved, how the camera works, whether you can buy that camera, whether you know how to integrate that camera into that glasses, like the Google Lens has done, it'll not be an innovation. It'll be just an idea, right? So how are you going to make it an innovation? So you need to have that skills, and unless you know this technology, you know the skills, it'll just remain an idea. So the first thing is to acquire skills, and can you do that in the next 4 weeks? Is my question.
Yes, so my other two friends, they were working on it, and they did find a few materials on how the technology works on the specs based on the videos and the research that we did on it. So we did
Mhm.
come up with the camera and the navigation system on how they work in the build specs, and we've also come up with the specs to be chargeable so
Okay,
that
if
they're
a
chargeable.
camera has to read and if a camera has to take pictures or video and then understand things, it requires artificial intelligence technology.
Yes, sir.
So have you used any artificial intelligence technology tool, maybe OpenCV or something like that, which can do some recognition, object detection or face recognition? Have you worked on those kind of technologies?
Those we're working on. So we just started on face recognition because that's how Google Lens works. So we were
Ha,
going
so
further on it.
So my suggestion is, don't look at some of those solutions and come up with an idea, rather than start with a problem that is being faced by people whom you observe. And the second is, build something which you can actually build with the skills that you currently have, or with a little small maybe if within a few days or a few weeks, if you can acquire the skills to build it, that's great. Otherwise, if you're not able to build it within that time frame, it will not be an innovation. Okay, so
Sure,
you need
sir.
to be very clear. What you submit should not be an idea. What you submit should be an innovation. Innovation means you should know, you should demonstrate that it works really. So that means you should know how the technology works, how to make it, put it together in the form of a prototype, so that it shows at least the basic parts of it in at least a rudimentary way. If it may not be as fancy as a Google Lens, but at least the concept should be proven in the prototype. If it is not even proven, if you don't know how to make it work, then it will be only an idea. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So
Got it. Sure,
work
sir.
on
We'll
yeah.
research and go through it again.
Sure, definitely. All the best. Okay, and
Thank you for
so
the input, sir.
welcome. Sir, I think it's what, 6 o'clock already?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can we end the live, sir?
Yeah, what I suggest is, if students have more questions, what we can do is every day we will have some mentoring hour. Maybe the first 45 minutes. Today's session was a little longer. I took more than an hour. In fact, I almost took an hour. In fact, we started around 4-5, and I finished probably around 5-5, and then we started the